More than any other modern architect, Frank Lloyd Wright was the master of the beautiful building. This is the Guggenheim Museum in New York. When it opened in 1959, 6 months after Wright's death, it caused a sensation. This was the first gallery that dared to declare itself as a work of art, as great as anything that was put inside it. It has become Wright's signature building, and yet he was first and foremost a designer of houses, and the allure of his living spaces is as potent today as when they were first created.
This was a poet, this was a romantic. This was a man who thought first and foremost of how people were going to live in houses.
They're warm, they're beautiful, they make you feel good. The word like serenity would be characteristic of the things he sought for in architecture.
Frank Lloyd Wright embraced modernism, but he brought it back to nature. He made it organic. His houses grow out of the landscape, or, as in the case of his greatest masterpiece, out of a waterfall.
He makes water and its gurgling, rushing, explosive sound part of the house. And then he cantilevers a series of white diving boards in the most breathtaking way. You know, it's like being on Niagara Falls, living above Niagara Falls. Imagine. Now, no one had done that. This is, you know, everybody's dream.
But it wasn't only his work that made Frank Lloyd Wright the greatest architect of the 20th century. He understood that to be accepted as a genius, you have to behave like one.
I've been accused of saying I was the greatest architect in the world, and if I had said so, I don't think it would be very arrogant, because I don't believe there are many, if any.
He was the Muhammad Ali of architecture. He was the greatest, and he was willing to tell you that he was the greatest.
Wright understood, earlier than a lot of architects, that in order to create a career for yourself as an architect, you have to be a self-publicist. And the concept of the star architect really was woven around Frank Lloyd Wright.
And Wright could weave magic like no one else. His autobiography was a poetic myth of heroic proportions.
Wright invented himself. He turned himself into the person that he thought he should be. And if it meant lying, that was all right. He believed his own lies.
But there is so much more to Frank Lloyd Wright than his own selective account revealed. There was his scandalous lifestyle that cost him commissions and critical recognition for years. And he barely mentions the most horrifying event of his life, an act of appalling brutality that cast a shadow over his career for decades and almost destroyed him.